Hey everybody, welcome back. It is the Razzball Fantasy Baseball Podcast. I am Beaton, joined by the one, the only, the fantasy master Lothario himself, the spectacled wonder, Gray Albright.
Hey, Beaton, what's going on, man? Yeah, I am spectacled. I used to wear contacts. When I first started Razzball, but then during the pandemic, I was like, I'm not seeing anyone. I'm not doing anything. What am I putting on contacts for? What a waste. And then I got lazy. That's what happens, man. You get lazy. Life comes at you real fast, and you get lazy. Did you see my post on Monday? You probably didn't.
I did not, Gray.
Okay.
I was returning from a bachelor party weekend and a few days off, so it was a long weekend. I got my lineup set, and that was about as much as I got done on Monday.
Not a real excuse, but okay, I'll let it slide.
It's not an excuse for you because you don't drink or do anything that would cause recovery time to be necessary. But some of our listeners understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I haven't drank in a long time, and that wasn't even really. I don't think I ever really said I was gonna stop drinking. I just did. Anyway, so ChatGPT, did you see? You didn't see this. You should open up my post from today. Tariq, it's hard to get San Juan hit when you're poor Tariq. And I don't know what Rudy was doing with the title on Monday. Rudy's title. Rudy said, I was like, I need a title. So this is how titles go with Razzball. I send a message, a DM over to Rudy, and I'm like, I need a title for Tariq Skubal. He pitched a gem. So then Rudy sends me back a title, and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what this means. I mean, I might have to defend it or something. Like, what if the commenter is like, what's your title mean? So and that has happened before. Like a commenter will be like, oh, what does the title mean this? And I'll be like, I don't know. I don't know. It's a Rudy title. I don't know. So I said to Rudy, I was like, what's this title mean? He's like, say it out loud. And I'm like, well, I'm at the movies, so I can't start talking out loud. Anyway, that wasn't even, that was not. So you have it open now?
I do.
Okay. So look at Matt Verling. So this was ChatGPT. Do you see the ChatGPT thing?
I do.
Oh my God. So I said to ChatGPT, because Rudy was like playing around with ChatGPT for our football side of things. By the way, the Raz Bowl signups are going on right now on football.razzball.com. So go over to football and sign up for the Raz Bowl. Anyway,
my rankings drop on Friday.
Okay, so Beaton's rankings for fantasy football drop on Friday. Okay, so so Rudy said to me he's playing around with ChatGPT for I never really played around with it, but Rudy was like, I'm going to play around with it and see if it's usable for our football, for football to do like a Q&A on the football projection. So I'm like, okay, whatever. And he's like, have you played around with it at all? I'm like, no, I haven't played around with it. He's like, you should check it out. So I'm like, okay. So I go to ChatGPT and I'm like, give me a few sentences to describe Matt Verling for fantasy baseball in the style of Gray Albright. Dude, it literally gave me back to me. Do you see? I mean, it is like uncanny. I showed this to Cougs and she's like, wow, I could basically be married to ChatGPT.
Yeah, that's I'm glad that you're finally on board. You're old, so it's okay that you're late. I mean, I'm not young, but like The readers know, or the listeners know, when I use ChatGPT in my descriptions. I don't. Like, it's pretty clear. It's either in the template that I've wrote every description for the last 3 years, 4 years, whatever it's been, or it's really like entertaining and funny. And
oh man, dude, it is literally, it sent me back to me, man. Like, it literally, like, if for people who didn't read my Monday post, it says for Matt Verling, it says Matt Verling sounds like the name of a guy who installs your ceiling fan, then hits 2 homers off your ace the same night. It sounds like something I'd say. And then it says eligible at 3 positions and hotter than a mid-July bush light. He's sneakily putting together a season that says poor man's Whit Merrifield with a gym membership. I don't know what that means, but it sounds like something I'd say. Oh my God. Not a league. This is it. It continues. Not a league winner, but a category filler who shows up on waivers every May like, you up? Don't ignore the upside. He's got 15-10 potential with a dash of, why didn't I pick him up 2 weeks ago? My God, this sounds just like me. The computers are taking over, man.
Yeah, Gray. I'm gonna write all your posts for you. I'm just gonna ask ChatGPT, summarize last night in Gray Albright. Done. And you can just pay me for whatever time that you would normally spend writing it. And that's how it works. I think that's exactly how most companies are working now. You're just young people feeding the older people above them ChatGPT, and seeming very intelligent.
We're screwed. Okay. Anyway, let's do
AI is going to take over the world, Gray. It's going to happen.
Let's just do a podcast now that ChatGPT could have done in 30 seconds.
Yeah. I guess the Pirates really are wondering if ChatGPT can bring back Oneil Cruz to, the player that they thought they were getting back in like April. He wants out of Pittsburgh. You can't really blame him for that. I think every player in Pittsburgh wants out of Pittsburgh unless they can't sign anywhere else. April, 253, 8 home runs, 12 stolen bases. May, he hit 202, 4 home runs, 6 stolen bases. Not great, but at least the home runs, stolen bases were there. June, Gray, he's hitting 153 with a home run and 9 stolen bases. He's been benched for lack of hustle on multiple occasions. If you've seen any clips or watched any Pirates game, you've basically seen it. I mean, what are you thinking in regards to Oneil Cruz? Like, what are you doing with him for, our purposes until he gets traded? Can you start him at all, or is it a hold and pray situation?
Well, I would say, I was thinking, I should have just asked ChatGPT this, but wasn't he was good as a shortstop, like as a defensive shortstop, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did he go to the outfield and now he's incapable of picking up grounders in the outfield? by the time he's like basically like the reverse me. If you were to put me at shortstop and hit a 110 mile per hour grounder at me, I would dive out of the way and hide my face. And he's basically in the outfield and a 35 mile per hour grounder makes it out to him and he's like, oops, my bad. I really kind of like shocked at what, like every time I watch him too, like I don't watch the Pirates that much, to be honest. I watch them occasionally when Paul Skeens is pitching or if they're going against a team I want to watch. But I don't watch the Pirates a ton. But the few times I have watched the Pirates, every time the ball gets to the outfield, Oneil Cruz it's like an adventure out there for him to play center field. The ball it's so far away from the plate, and somehow he can't pick up a grounder in the outfield, but he's able to play shortstop. It's really puzzling. Anyway, I don't know if, like you mentioned, benching him. I mean, he is, at the end of the day, he is a 15 homer, 27 steal guy right now. I know the average isn't good, but 15 homers and 27 steals, I don't know if you can really bench that. I know June has been a miserable month for him. But I mean, I get it. I do think he is like miserable, which I mean, he seems miserable, and I would imagine I would be too in Pittsburgh. So I mean, I can't fault the guy for being miserable in the same place I would also be miserable. But yeah, I mean, he's definitely, I mean, he's definitely struggling in the month of June. He hit, what was it, 169 in the month of June, 153? It was a bad month. Whatever it was a bad. He had 2 homers on Sunday and raised his June numbers a little bit. So the numbers you said were a little bit lower, but he definitely, I mean, he definitely looks like a mess and doesn't look happy, which is not good. But I don't know if you can really bench him with that much talent. I mean, he was struggling, and like I just mentioned, he had a good Sunday with the 2 homer Sunday. So I'm imagining, you know, he could get hot this week and make all this sort of a moot point and have like a hot July potentially. So yeah, I mean, I'm fine with you know, starting him every day. I think you gotta, you know, certain guys you just sort of have to run out there and let them, you know, start for your fantasy team, rain or shine, and hopefully at the end of, you know, the 6-month season you have good stats. I don't know really like what it's going to take other than potentially a trade to really get him totally right. But he seems miserable. I don't know what else to say on that. I think, I mean, he strikes out a ton, so he's going to be prone to these, you know, incredibly deep valley slumps, and it seems to be what he's going through right now. I imagine, you know, when he gets hot, it'll be the opposite, and he'll have, you know, his May wasn't great. I believe it was, what was his April that was really solid. So he's so he's kind of having, you know, he's kind of had back-to-back sort of miserable months. Yeah, I mean, in April, I do remember in April, people were like, "Oh my God!" Like, I think I actually might even said this. I don't know. ChatGPT would know for sure, but I think I might even said that Oneil Cruz looks like it's, you know, this guy who's hitting in April looks like the guy who's going to be a top 10, top 15 overall player in 2026. But yeah, that didn't happen. Obviously, the strikeouts are just so crazy. He's just like, he doesn't make enough contact to really have a consistent year from, you know, month to month. So there is going to be these huge slumps. I think probably, like, if he were to bring his contact into you know, a little bit better, like Ellie De La Cruz, I mean, he seemed like he was going to be a contact issue for his whole career. And his contact rate, like, he's at a 25% strikeout rate, hitting 280, which reminds me kind of what with Bobby Witt Jr., what we thought of him when he first came up. We thought Bobby Witt Jr. was going to be a batting average risk with his contact, and he was able to figure it out. And also, going even further back, I remember that for Chris Bryant was when he originally came up, he was striking out like 30% of the time. And then he was able to figure out. Anthony Rizzo was another guy. But yeah, so guys do occasionally figure it out. Like, not always, but some guys do figure it out. And I think Oneil Cruz is young enough maybe where he could still, but it seems like that sort of ship has passed at this point. Like, he's young enough, but not quite young enough to figure out his contact, where I think, you know, maybe he gets it down to 29, 28% at some point if he gets into a good groove for a long period of time. But right now, he seems like he's a 30+% strikeout rate guy, which is going to be, at best probably a 250-ish hitter, maybe potentially 255. He actually hit 239 in 2024 with a 30% strikeout rate. So he does hit the ball so hard. So that is good. He's got that going for him, hitting the ball hard. But at 33%, it's got, which is strikeout rate now at 33.6%. That is going to be it's going to be a struggle for him to hit higher than like 230. So I do still think you have to start him every day though, because of the power and speed. And like Sunday with the 2-homer game, he has the ability to have like out of nowhere these great games, and you don't want to have that on your bench. So yeah, I'm still on board with Oneil Cruz.
Okay, so you're still starting him. Let me throw some names at you on whether you would trade Oneil Cruz out for these players. Let's start with Bo Bichette.
No.
Okay. Let's aim a little bit higher than that. How about Ian Happ?
No, so in your scenario, you have Ian Happ on your bench, and you want to start him at utility over Oneil Cruz? Is that what you're
saying? You're like tired of Oneil Cruz, and you're looking around
the league to see what you could trade. Someone offered you Ian Happ.
Yeah.
No, I would keep Oneil Cruz in that scenario.
Okay. How about Byron Buxton? Would you buy into his hot season?
No, because I think he's going to get injured at any point. So I'm not getting into that.
Okay. And I guess let's go all the way to the last name I have here, CJ Abrams.
I would go CJ Abrams over Oneil Cruz.
Okay. So there's going to be a point where, yeah, you just take the guy who's performing right now and, of equal value.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's move on then. Let's talk about a player we all kind of liked. I don't know if we all liked him, but he got a lot of draft hype right at the end of draft season, and that is Cam Smith. And he's kind of doing the opposite of Oneil Cruz, where he started out terrible. He was hitting 213 with 3 homers and a stolen base in April. May, he hit for a little bit better average, but only 1 stolen base, no home runs. Got dropped a lot of places. And now in June, Gray, he's hit 318 with 4 home runs, 2 stolen bases, 14 runs, and 16 RBIs. He does seem to be hitting better in Houston. That's not really surprising given the ballpark. But what are your thoughts on Cam Smith? Are you going to grab him up pretty much across the board, or is this more of a, depending on what your roster and corner infield is looking like?
Yeah, no, I still have him in a league or two. I think this could potentially be his breakout. I mean, we saw a guy who came up and was overmatched in April, and a bit in May as well. Even though was a little bit higher average, but still was kind of overmatched. And now in June, he started to hit for power. He was hitting for average. He was doing everything. And an adjustment period of 2 months for a 22-year-old is like nothing. I mean, that is really I feel like if we saw a similar pattern with Roman Anthony, we would think nothing of it either. And Cam Smith, if everyone remembers, we were crazy excited about him in March because of how insane he was doing in spring training. And then adjustment period happened in April and May, and now he's coming out of it in June. It's not a unheard of pattern for a rookie hitter. So I think this could be his breakout. This is potentially Cam Smith becoming who we thought he was back in March. I'm completely bought in. I mentioned I already had him in leagues. I didn't drop him in the leagues I had. I might have dropped him in one league. That's not true. I potentially could have dropped him in May in a shallower, in like a 12-team league. I probably did drop him, but I have him also in a 15-team league where I never dropped him, and I think I benched him at certain points in April and May. But he's been a mainstay in my lineup now for the month of June, and hopefully this is him, taking off and becoming who we thought he was, which is, I think he is. I mean, he's insanely talented. Like he has, 70 grade power potential, 40 homer power, has 10 steal speed. His hitting right now at 26.7% strikeout rate on the year. And that's including, some of those, some of the struggles he had early on in in April. He had a 25% strikeout rate in June for a 22-year-old. Like that's kind of like that's like basically if I, in a year's time look back on Cam Smith and he's a star in 2026, I could look at the month of June as being the point when he started breaking out and becoming that superstar. So and that wouldn't be a shock to me to have that happen. So yeah, I think this is, if Cam Smith is out there, I would absolutely be buying in. And in keepers and dynasty for next year, if you can still get Cam Smith for a relatively decent price in a keeper or dynasty, now's the time to be doing it, because if he keeps, in July and August, he keeps progressing and getting better and better, it's going to be a more expensive, proposition to try and trade for him at that point.
Yeah, and maybe you can use the home road splits to get that value or keep that value, relatively affordable. 311, 5 home runs and 3 stolen bases at home. 243, 2 home runs and a stolen base on the road. But he does have 10 less games on the road for the home run stolen base numbers. Let me ask you some names. Cam Smith, or if you're looking at maybe your free agent wire, or you're looking at your roster, maybe you have some of these guys and Cam Smith is sitting there. If you have Brooks Lee, who's actually been okay recently, would you drop Brooks Lee for Cam Smith?
I would.
Okay. Let's move up the board a little bit. How about Josh Smith, who is he's been solid?
Yeah, I would go Cam Smith.
Okay. Willie Castro, kind of a utility player, but if you're starting him particularly at third base.
Yeah, different type of player, but I would go Cam Smith.
Okay. Equal kind of June breakout, Spencer Steer.
That's a tough one, because Spencer Steer could potentially be breaking out as well from his early struggles. I'd probably go Cam Smith though.
All right, one more. How about Alec Bohm, who has been very solid this year, just doing his Alec Bohm thing.
Yeah, super boring, but somewhat valuable. Doing his normie type thing. I would go Cam Smith, because Alec Bohm, at the end of the day, I mean, you know what you're getting. It's like top 20-ish third baseman because of average and runs and nothing really else. So yeah, I would go Cam Smith just for the upside.
Okay. You are in on Cam Smith then, Gray.
Yeah.
I like it, and I'm also in on him. I picked him up in he was available in 2 leagues, and I got him in one and got outbid in the other. So definitely worth grabbing if he's still available.
In Cam Smith's defense, which I don't know if he needs defense, because we're obviously profusely talking about how much we like him. But if player rater for the season, third baseman rankings, Cam Smith is above Josh Smith, Willie Castro, Brooks Lee, and just about even, a little bit below Alec Bohm, but close. And Alec Bohm, like I mentioned, is, he's being buoyed by a good batting average and some runs. RBIs actually. Okay, so so Cam Smith is, even with those struggles in April and May, overall for the year has actually been pretty good.
Yeah, he has been. I mean, again, you just kind of ignore what's happened because that's already happened. You can't do anything about it, and he's been good since making that adjustment. Hopefully, he can continue that going forward. And like you said, hopefully, he is a guy that we all want to draft in 2026. Let's talk about some people who have struggled in June, like Oneil Cruz did, Gray. And these are all going to be highly owned guys, Gray. And, we're not necessarily, I don't think we're dropping any of these guys. I'll ask you, maybe one of these guys might be starting to enter that territory. But let's get into it. Let's start with Jarren Duran. April, he had 279, 2 home runs, 10 stolen bases, was doing everything you want him to do. May, 258, 2 home runs, 3 stolen bases. Not exactly great, but okay. In June, 206, 1 home run, and 2 stolen bases. What are your thoughts on Jarren Duran?
I think he's another one where I wouldn't be surprised if he's potentially moved in the trade during the trade deadline, because he doesn't seem happy either, or not happy in Boston. Potentially, I don't know what they're going to do, but I feel like they have to get rid of one more guy still, the Red Sox, that is. And Duran feels like the odd man out, potentially. So I look at his numbers, and I think he looks to me like he's just having like a bit of an off year. It doesn't like it looks like his strikeouts are up progressively each month. They've gotten worse. The slumps have extended into weeks at a time. Like you mentioned, June has been bad. May wasn't that good. I mean, he's really fast. So, I mean, the real problem, or not the problem, but the unfortunate thing is that the steals haven't even been there, because at worst case scenario, a guy that fast, you would hope, would get on base and steal some bags to help with his fantasy value, even if he's not hitting for power. But the bigger issue, and I think why his year, it looks like his year is going to be down overall, because the hard hit is down for the year. The fly balls aren't down and the ground balls aren't up. So the fact that he's not hitting for power makes me think that he's not making good contact, unfortunately. And, that feels like it's something that's just dragging on now, going on 3 months, half the season now, where he's just not making that good of a contact. So this feels like a down year for him. I don't know. I mean, maybe he still comes out of it. Maybe he starts hitting for power in the second half, and he gets traded, and wherever he goes, it becomes a non-issue there. Maybe, but yeah, I don't know. His numbers don't his strikeouts are up a little bit, but not really up that much. It's really the hard contact that's down that has me fairly concerned, because nothing else in his batted ball profile really is jumping out. Like his launch angle, it's up a little bit, but not that bad from last year, and it's just sort of not really great. Just not making solid contact is really seems to be the issue, and that. I mean, he could come out of that. It's possible. I would probably be selling low. I wouldn't be dropping, though. I would, it depends on the trade that people get offered and how much you can trade for someone here. But I would probably be looking to trade low a little bit. Not insanely low, but I don't think you're getting draft value anyway. He was a top 20 pick in the draft, so you're not getting that. But if you can get top 50 right now, I'd probably take it, just out of concern that he never really comes out of this. And, because like last year he had 21 homers, stole 34 bags. This year, if he breaks, 12 homers and 25 or 30, I mean, he could still get the steals. Those can come in a handful, in a bunch. But the homers really are what I think is not going to get there this year. So if he breaks 12 homers this year, I feel like that would be a victory for him. And that is way below where I think preseason projections had him.
Yeah, I mean, I had him ranked, pretty much, I think, around 8 AP. So I'm not going to sit here and say I didn't like him, but I was worried because the 21 home runs kind of came out of nowhere. It's not something that was really in his profile prior to that. And it seems like, his true home run numbers maybe in the teens rather than in the low 20s. That is disappointing. I think in regards to the hard hit, Gray, to maybe calm you down a little bit, it does depend on what hard hit you're using, because there's the Fangraphs hard hit, which combines how the ball is launched, and it has to be in a certain, window of that. And then there's the StatCast hard hit, which is strictly how hard the ball comes off the bat. In the StatCast, how hard the ball comes off the bat, it's actually up. It's actually the best of his career, along with the average exit velocity. So in theory, he's actually hitting the ball harder, but it is also the highest launch angle he's had. And that's been an issue in June, where it's climbed to like a 15.5, 16 launch angle. And his last year, he was at a 9.5 for the season. So that may be the issue. Just like he needs to put the ball on the ground. He needs to hit, line drives and ground balls. And right now it feels like he's, the 21 home runs got him feeling himself a little, and he went a little Willie Mays Hayes, trying to launch everything and just hitting warning track balls. 47% fly balls in June, only 15% line drive. That just feels like he's just trying to launch everything for some reason. One thing that he didn't have last year is bad splits. He was better at home than on the road last year, but 210 versus lefties this year and 275 versus righties. That was a lot closer last year. So I'm not sure what's going on that. That may be, again, just a swing path thing where it's harder to hit lefties if you're trying to uppercut everything. In regards to selling, Gray, top 30 outfielder, would you take? Rest of season on the top 30 would be like Riley Green's at 29.
I would take Riley Green.
Okay. So you would take pretty much a top 30 outfielder, as long as they have, I would say, at least some upside at that point, because there's a few names on the rest of the season that, you and I probably wouldn't have there, but it's it's the projection system. But yes, I think top 30 is about the right area, Gray. Maybe you could sell them as a top 20 just based on the stolen bases to the right team, but I think that's probably where you're looking.
Yeah, like looking at what has already happened, the player rater for the season thus far, the guys in the top 20 outfielders. So this would be buying high, because these guys have already been the top 20 outfielders so far for this year. Out of those guys who I wouldn't necessarily trade, Byron Buxton would be a guy I would not trade Duran for. And also Yelich, Andy Pages, Hunter Goodman, who's a top 15 outfielder actually right now, but you probably have my catcher. And Helio Ramos, and Taylor Ward. But guys who so that leaves the guys who I would, Aaron Judge, obviously, Pete Crow Armstrong, Kyle Tucker, James Wood, Juan Soto, Seiya Suzuki, Riley Green, Corbin Carroll, who's injured right now, but I would still trade for him. Jackson Cheerio, Tatis, Brent Rooker, Julio Rodriguez, Teoscar Hernandez, and aforementioned Oneil Cruz, which would probably be probably a trade you could do. I think I would take Oneil Cruz over Duran because I think the power is higher and the steals are relatively the same.
Yeah, I mean they're both
Average,
kind of contact issue guys right now.
Yeah, Duran's average is going to be better, but I would go Oneil Cruz over Duran.
Okay, yeah, and there's a few guys after, like you named a few guys you wouldn't take. There's definitely a few guys after Duran you would still take, like probably Jazz. I just looking down the list, maybe a guy we're going to talk about here in a little bit as well. But you really do hate Andy Pages, huh? You just don't buy it.
I wouldn't say I hate it. It's just like, it's a sample size of a major league sample size of 3 months. I mean, I have them in a league. I have them in my Tout Wars league where I am currently in first place. But I would say with Andy Pages, I like him. I just, it's like, how much can you trust a guy who's only done it for half a season? I mean, it's fine. It's good. I mean, he's been great. He's a top 20 outfielder right now. So, I'm not kicking it off my team, but I would still take Duran, for just to put it together and potentially be, a top 5 outfielder or something.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the upside play, especially if you're needing to chase some points and get back into things. You gotta take a risk, get some guys to turn it around. I think we would both universally take Jackson Merrill over him despite his struggles in June. Correct, Gray?
Yeah, I would take Jackson Merrill.
All right, so Merrill's first 31 games, April through May, since he did miss some time, but the first 31 games, he hit 322, 362, 512, a 19% K rate, a 5.5% walk rate, 5 home runs, a stolen base. It was all going well. 20 games in June, he's hitting 250, 333, 355, no home runs, no stolen bases. The numbers in general look okay, Gray, but what are your thoughts on Jackson Merrill and just the power speed drying up?
This is probably confirmation bias, but I feel like with Jackson Merrill and Gunnar, and I'm thinking of Gunnar Henderson as well, and like guys who just get injured and then they come back and they're never the same, or at least not the same this year. And it takes them, this season, because it just feels like sometimes like these guys get injured and it's just like they just don't come back right. I don't know, man. I'm concerned about Jackson Merrill. I think he's probably injured still, but it's like, how do you, what do you do with that information? I don't know. I don't know if he is really injured still. I'm saying I think he might be because just the numbers look so terrible, but I don't know. I'd be looking to buy low on him just because, it's like, how long can he stay injured? I mean, I would assume he's going to get healthy. That's like the same way I feel about Gunnar Henderson, AKA Grounder Henderson, with this awful launch angle this year. I mean, I'm going to be so out on Gunnar Henderson next year. He's going to be a top 3 fantasy guy next year. It's going to be so awful. I already know it. I already know it's going to happen. But back to Jackson Merrill. Yeah, I mean, his ground balls are up. Hard hit looks down. Again, it's like, unfortunately, like you mentioned with Duran, none of these sites can get on the same page using the same data. So I say hard hit is down, and then you look at a different site and it looks like their hard hit is up. So I don't know. But what I'm looking at right now, it looks like Jackson Merrill's hard hit is down. I'm on Fangraphs, so maybe StatCast is showing something differently. I don't know why these people can't all get on the same page. Anyway, Jackson Merrill is ground balls are up, fly balls are down, hard hits down, but he's probably just injured, or he's probably, struggling to come back from the injury he had earlier. So he's just not 100% yet. But that could, at some point that could click and he could have a huge second half. So I would be buying him, but there's nothing really to point to and be like, oh yeah, this is why he should be better. I mean, his numbers look like
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much where we're at right now with the numbers. You're buying based on kind of the upside, based on what we saw last year. And, the injury narrative makes it easy to say, yeah, I mean, he just gets healthy and kind of gets back in the flow of things, and he'll turn things around. So it's definitely a narrative that you can buy into. Just looking at the player rater, Gray, let's start with, maybe let's start with Jarren Duran. Would you have Duran or Merrill?
Merrill.
Okay. I think we actually asked you that already. Ian Happ.
I would go Merrill.
Okay. I do feel like Ian Happ is basically like the average version of Merrill. So you're like trading one that's struggling for like the average version when Merrill still has the upside.
Ian Happ is like the guy who's like, if for fantasy, it's like if you can take Ian Happ over player A, then player A should probably be on waivers. It's like, as good as Ian Happ is every year, it's impossible to say like, oh yeah, I want Ian Happ. Like, do you really want him? I mean, you should want him, but do you really want him? It's hard. It's hard to be like, yes, I want Ian Happ. He's so boring.
It's definitely one of those draft and hold or type of plays where like you don't have to look at it. You just come back at the end of the season, you're like, Ian Happ is the man. He's a top 25 outfielder, top 20 outfielder every year.
Yeah.
Why does nobody want this guy? But yeah, you have to look at it week by week. It can be a little brutal.
He's probably like the best guy for like a best ball or like a gladiator league. It's like, oh yeah, I drafted Ian Happ, and now I never have to think about him again.
And nobody wanted him, so I got him late. How about Oneil Cruz, Gray? As we talked about him already. Oneil Cruz or Jackson Merrill?
I would go Oneil Cruz.
Okay. Let's go somewhere in the middle of those two then. How about Teoscar? I feel like Teoscar is a good middle ground.
I would go Teoscar.
Okay, so you're willing to give up a guy, but not necessarily a top 15 or maybe even a top 20.
It would be a hard one. It would be a hard trade to do an Andy Pages. That would be hard. I would, but it would be hard. It would be difficult though. I would struggle with it, but I would do it.
Yeah. James Wood. I'm assuming you take James Wood over him.
Oh, you gotta take James Wood.
Yeah.
Thank God. Thank God I had James Wood over Jackson Merrill in my rankings, because I took James Wood in every league, and thank God I did. If I would have had Jackson Merrill in every league instead of James Wood, I wouldn't be thrilled with myself right now.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I had James Wood high, but you were definitely even higher on him than I was. He's been great, and hopefully will be for a long time. That's also what we thought about Jackson Merrill, though. So we will see. A guy we also assumed was just continue being good after a down season last year, Gray. And next two guys, we thought the return of Acuna might kickstart the Braves offense, and it has for a couple players, but for a few players it has not. A couple of those are Ozzie Albies and Michael Harris. Albies has not been good at any point this season, but it's getting worse, Gray. April, 238, 4 home runs, 4 stolen bases. Not great, but kind of an Albies line that he'll have a good month somewhere and build off that. May, 230, 2 home runs, a stolen base. Again, not great. Maybe there's better times to come. That did not happen in June. He's hitting 198. He has no home runs, 2 stolen bases. He's always destroyed lefties, Gray. He's not even doing that every home run he has is versus righties, which is so weird for him. I mean, this is maybe the one guy on this list I want to ask: does he need to be owned at this point?
No, I don't think so. I think we've reached a point where you can drop Ozzie Albies. Unfortunately, I think I had him in our RCL league, a league that I'm struggling for the first time in probably a decade. But I've had Ozzie Albies, and I've benched him a couple times. I think I might be dropping him soon. I think we've gotten to the point where it's just it's not happening. And maybe it does at some point happen, but is the upside really worth how much you're going through, the stress of or the ulcer that is building up in your body to own Ozzie Albies right now? I don't think it is. I don't think the upside is really that great to deal with what he's doing now. It's not like, oh, when he gets hot, he's going to put up a 15 homer month and he's going to carry your team. Like, I don't think so. It seems doubtful at this point. Like, he's at a 6 homer, 7 steal, 223 a year right now. Even if he gets hot and he has a great second half, what's he going to end up with? 2015 season. So you're looking at 14 homers and 13 homers and 8 steals the rest of the way, which is like, I mean, it's fine for a second baseman, but it's not really that amazing that you have to hold on to him through all this. So I think it's time to move on from Ozzie Albies.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe he's just trying to get out of this terrible contract he signed, Gray. I mean,
good point.
They've got club options for the next 2 years. Normally you'd be like $7 million for a second baseman. Absolutely. But if he continues this path, they may be like, nah, we'll just pay a minor leaguer, the league men and get the same numbers at this point. Maybe there's just a long con here.
Yeah, maybe he's like Ricky J in disguise. I think he's right now on the player rater. He's behind Gavin Lux on the player rater for second baseman. And Gavin Lux is not good. So, I mean, that gives you kind of an idea of what you're doing with Ozzie Albies. He's way behind Ernie Clement. I mean, I'm just mentioning guys who I think are probably on waivers in leagues. I mean, he's he's behind Jorge Polanco. He's behind Willie Castro. I mean, he's behind Caleb Dorbin. I mean, he's behind so many guys on the player rater who are readily available. So it's like, just move on.
Yep. Number 8 second baseman on the player, Otto Lopez, who I'm still picking up in leagues for free. Yeah. Move on. It's time. Yeah. I hate to say it because I'm a big Ozzie Albies fan. I have been for a long time, but it looks bad. As does this next guy, Gray, who you've always kind of been the low man on, and kudos for you for having him buried in your rankings. And that is, of course, Michael Harris II. April, 233, 3 home runs, 6 stolen bases, 16.8% strikeout rate. Okay, doing okay. We'll build. May, 245, 0 home runs, 4 stolen bases, 20% strikeout rate.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Continue.
June, 148, 3 home runs. At least there's 3 home runs and a stolen base. 27% strikeout rate, though, Gray. It has jumped 11% from where we started. Really 10.5. But still, 10.5% on the strikeout rate is an absurd jump, even in a monthly sample, because strikeout rate is one of the first things that normalizes. Like, that's what's going on here, Gray. He has a 4.8 line drive rate in June.
I'm reminded of Scarface when he says to Michelle Pfeiffer, your womb is polluted. That's the Braves. The Braves' womb is polluted because there's a lot of problems there. I can't quite figure out why they have so many issues with like these otherwise talented hitters, they really are a mess, man. It's going on 2 years now where I would be firing hitting coaches, get rid of Brian Snicker, clear out the clubhouse, because there's something wrong. Because like, I didn't like Michael Harris II, but he shouldn't be awful, and he's terrible. I mean, awful. You go on the player rater, and right now he's ranked 77th for outfielders. That's actually, when you're talking, that's what I was laughing at, because he's behind Dane Myers on the player rater. Dane Myers. I mean, I have Dane Myers in my Towel Wars team that is currently in first place. But I mean, Dane Myers is who he is. Like, let's be real here. I mean, Michael Harris II's awful, man. Michael Harris II is right now, he's like a toss-up with like Mickey Moniak and Mike Yastrzemski. Like, what? It's awful. Honestly, I'd move on from him too. I would move on from Michael Harris II. I never liked him though, but I would, if I were in a 12-team mixed league or shallower, I would just be like, you know what? If he gets hot, he gets hot, whatever. I would just drop him. It's to that point, I think.
I mean, playing an injured Dylan Cruz has been better for your lineup than playing Michael Harris II recently. So, yeah, I mean, I feel like there's something in Atlanta that's wrong, and I feel like it's connected to Snitker. But until that changes, I just don't see where it's coming. Like, it cannot be hotter than it is right now in Atlanta. Like, the ball's not gonna fly any better than it does right now, and they're still not hitting the ball. Michael Harris, as I mentioned, has a line drive rate under 5% in June, is a 66.7% ground ball rate. His launch angle is under 5. They just need to trade him to Toronto already. A former Brave, since we're just going to continue this line, Gray. I mean, I could have thrown a couple more in here. We could have talked about Marcelo Ozuna in this group too. He's been terrible all season as well. But we're not going to. We're going to talk about a guy I've been down on for like 6 seasons in a row, and I might finally be right, and that is Freddie Freeman. April, 319, 5 home runs. May, 410, 4 home runs. I'm just eating my words as I speak. And then June, he has hit 200 with a home run. I was worried about the injury. I was worried about him lasting a full season. I don't want to say he can't turn around, because every time I say that, he just kicks my all over the place. But what are your thoughts on Freddie Freeman, Gray? I need an unbiased observer, because I always see the end of the road for Freddie Freeman. Is it actually here, or is this just a bad month?
No, I mean, I'm not that unbiased, because I don't like Freddie Freeman either. I feel like, I think I wrote a overrated post about him in the preseason. Like, I would be trading Freddie Freeman 3 months ago. I would have never have drafted him. I didn't draft Freddie Freeman. I wouldn't have drafted him. I told people not to draft him. I think, yeah, I mean, the numbers you mentioned in June are terrible. And I think the average probably comes back a bit. Like you said, he hit 200 in June with 1 homer. And I think he probably, like, the average will still get up again. I think, probably closer to April, where he hit 319 versus May, where he hit 410. So, but still a 300 hitter, or at least 280. But the power really isn't, the power hasn't really been there. Going on like, 3 of the last 4 years, and really kind of like 3, the last 2 years. And the speed is really just completely evaporated. Like, we knew he had, his ankle injury was going to slow him down, but it's completely removed any chance that he has any speed whatsoever. And, he wasn't a fast guy to begin with, but he used to chuck in like, 10 steals or 10 plus steals. Now he's at 0 steals for the year, and he's only attempted 1. Like he's even said his ankle is still bothering him. So like the steals aren't going to suddenly appear as the season goes on. If anything, the Dodgers are going to want to rest him and make sure he's healthy for the playoffs. So you're looking at it like if he gets to 20 homers, 3 steals, and a 280 average, I think you're doing pretty well for yourself if you get those numbers. I wouldn't count on. I would take the under on all of them, but that's sort of that's like best case scenario, I think. So yeah, I would be selling low. I mean, you're not dropping Freddie Freeman, but I would sell low. I think he's basically at this point he's a runs and RBIs and batting average guy.
Yeah, I agree. If you can sell him, go ahead and sell him. Would you sell him for, rejuvenated Michael Busch?
Michael Busch looks pretty good. Yeah, I think I would take Michael Busch, to be honest. I don't know. I mean, probably, yeah. I think I would take Michael Busch. It's close though. You could probably get someone. You can get someone thrown in. I think maybe in that trade, if you're able to barter, if you could do a little haggling,
a little upgrade somewhere else.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's not a terrible trade for me. I don't mind it. I would probably, right now on the player rater, Busch is above Freeman. So yeah, and I don't see that necessarily changing. So yeah, I would take Busch.
Yeah, I mean, you're welcome any Michael Busch owners out there. He started to hit well as soon as I traded him in the Perts League. How about Tyler Soderstrom, who started the season on a tear and is cooled off a little bit?
I would go Freeman over Soderstrom.
Okay. How about the Braves replacement for Freeman, Matt Olson?
I would go Matt Olson.
And then how about Vlad?
I would take Vlad.
Okay. So we have a pretty decent idea where you're at on him. Soderstrom seems to be kind of the line for you. Let's move on to Anthony Volpe. He started the season in April, 237, 5 home runs, 3 stolen bases. May, 242, 1 home run, 4 stolen bases. June, 202, 3 home runs, 2 stolen bases. I mean, it's a guy that is at least putting up the home runs and stolen bases each month, but it's getting harder and harder to start him, especially with, some of the other middle infield options available in leagues.
Yeah, no, I think he's also he's kind of in the Ozzie Albies camp where it's like even if he does get hot, I mean, what are you losing by moving on from Anthony Volpe? I think you're probably at the point where in a 12-team mixed league or shallower, you could look elsewhere. It depends on who's available. I think I still have Volpe above Ozzie Albies in my mind, even different position obviously, yeah. But I think Volpe over Albies, but Volpe is sort of at the point where if you have better options on waivers, I think you can move on.
All right. Which of these guys would you take Volpe or over Volpe? Trevor Story, Otto Lopez, Bo Bichette, Dansby Swanson.
I think Dansby Swanson for sure. I think probably Bo Bichette, unfortunately. I hate to say it, but I think you do. I think you take Bo Bichette over Volpe. Lopez, yeah. I think Lopez, you should take Lopez over Volpe. Not Trevor Story.
Okay. I'm just gonna say no on Bo Bichette just because it's a little like what we were talking about earlier with some of the boring guys where it's like, yeah, like he's kind of the Ian Happ now of like that's what he is. Like, yeah, you could get him, but it's really boring and he really needs somebody to hit him in. Otherwise, there's not really value there. I'll take the chance Volpe turns it around, hits 240. It does like a couple of 5-5 months the rest of the season. But I get it if it's a deeper league. Wyatt Langford, April 299, 6 home runs, 4 stolen bases. The breakout is happening. Everybody who drafted him is a genius. May 189, 5 home runs, 6 stolen bases. At least he's hitting home runs, stealing bases. The average will come. June 224, 2 home runs, a stolen base, and now he's heading the IL with an oblique issue. The oblique helps kind of give him a reason why it was happening and gives us a narrative to work with. But we also just talked about how guys coming back from injury tend not to necessarily come back in the same manner as we want them to. What are you doing with Wyatt Langford? He has the name. He put up at least one big month where you can point to and say, here's what a healthy Langford does. But would you trade him away, or are you just waiting and hoping?
I don't know. At some point, I think I would. To your question, I would trade him away if I could get something decent. But in the bigger picture with Wyatt Langford, he's going to be a struggle to rank next year and to draft where he probably will end up going. At some point, what he did in April could become like every month, and he could do that every month and have that 30-30 300 year. I think that's still possible for him. It's going to be a struggle to actually rank him and draft him where, that possibility it's realistic, but not necessarily, possible, or at least, not realistic. Possible, but not realistic. Because we haven't seen it for extended period of time at any point in his career. Like, he did it for 1 month this year, where like if he did his April every month, that would have been great. But he didn't do it every month. He did it for 1 month, and last year, he did it for like a half month at that. So, at a certain point, like, how do you keep ranking him and drafting him as like a top 20 outfielder when he hasn't come close to that? It's still too early, to write off his entire second half, but with the oblique now, how do you what do you do with he could be out for weeks. So he comes back after the All-Star break, has an okay August. Say he has a great September. So he's got 2 months left, really, to show us something. So he has, if he has a great September, then he had a great April and a great September. It's like, okay, but what's that? I don't know, man. I feel like I might be the low man on Wyatt Langford next year, unless he has like such an insane second half that puts all this to rest. But right now, I just don't see it. And especially like the way he had his May and June showed me nothing. Like, like the May was nice, like you said, with the steals and speed, but he hit 189, and I don't know. I feel like I'm losing faith in Wyatt Langford until he actually shows it. And he could, he's still young enough. He could show it over an extended period of time. But right now, one month of his career is not doing it for me,
Yeah, it's starting to get to that, injury rep at this point. I know he's still very young. He can figure out how to deal with, the stresses of Major League Baseball, the schedule and everything a little bit better. But I'm with you. Like, we need to see it at some point, but he's 23. I'm not giving up hope, but I agree. It's going to be very weird to rank him. I'm assuming there's going to be, kind of like this year even, there's going to be people who are all in on him, and then there's the rest of us who will take him if he gets to a certain point. And so I probably won't have him a lot.
I was super I was like, I was super excited to take James Wood in every league, and I didn't get Wyatt Langford because I was so high on James Wood, but I'm glad that worked out fine. But yeah, I'm James Wood is like, he's become a star, and Wyatt Langford was supposed to be a star, but like, where is that? Where is it?
Oh, I agree. I had Wood over Langford as well. I know that it was not universal, but I'm glad it worked out for both of us at least. If you could move Langford right now, Gray, um, I mean, would you move him for Dylan Cruz, who's kind of in a similar situation that he's injured? We're not sure when he's coming back. He struggled as well.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't take Dylan Cruz. No.
All right. How about
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. How about Sal Frelick? Look, he's been solid this year.
He has
if
been.
You want to call it the breakout, it's been the breakout.
Yeah, I mean, he's got moved to the leadoff spot. He's a top 30 outfielder right now in the player rater. No, I would take the Wyatt Langford for after the All-Star break for 2.5 months, hopefully, that you get over Frelick. Yeah.
Okay. How about Taylor Ward?
I would go Taylor Ward over Langford.
Okay. So maybe in like the 30, 35 range of outfielders, somewhere on there and up, you would make that swap. But anything else, just take the risk that Langford comes back and is healthy. Because again, when he's been healthy, he's looked good. There's just been issues there.
Right. Yeah. No, totally. Actually, when I was going looking at the player rater for Frelick and Taylor Ward, I noticed Mookie Betts, who's been a bit of a struggle. He could have been listed. You don't have him on the podcast outline, or I should say, ChatGPT didn't put him on the podcast. But Mookie Betts is like, he's been a struggle too for the better part of the year. He's getting by a lot on like what he does and runs in RBIs, because that's been still fantastic because of the Dodger lineup and where he's placed in it. But yeah, he's been a struggle, and I don't know, Mookie Betts' numbers aren't screaming he'll be okay for what it's worth. Anyway.
No, all the numbers are trending down. Hard hits down, exit velocity is down, home run to fly ball is plummeting. Gray the last 2 seasons. The end of Mookie may be here. It's sad to see, because I think most of us have enjoyed watching Mookie play. He's been a great ambassador for the game. And it's sadly coming to an end. Let's move over to closers and some guys we could have included in June, strugglers, as well as things that may come to an end, Gray. Robert Suarez. April, 14 innings, 0.64 ERA, 0.57 whip. May, 10 1/3 innings, 4.35 ERA, 1.16 whip. June, 10 1/3 innings, 7.84, 1.74, Gray. It's not good. He's still getting the opportunities, so there's that. But at the same time, I think a lot of people were worried about Robert Suarez entering the season, and it's starting to show up.
Yeah, I know. It's not. Unfortunately, the Padres don't have anyone behind them who could take over for him. Wait, hold on. I'm hearing something. My finger to the ear, bud. Actually, they have a lot of guys who could take over for them. I stand corrected. They have multiple replacements that are really good. But I mean, if anything, I wouldn't be sure. If I were the Padres, I would trade Robert Suarez to like the Phillies or something and let him be awful as the Phillies closer for August. I would get anything I could for Robert Suarez if I could trade him in fantasy or in reality. But it's like, as long as he's the closer, which he is as of right this second, yeah, I mean, you got to start him in most leagues, I would think. So I don't know. I finally benched him in one league, in a weekly league. But I had a decent alternative. So unless you have really good alternatives, I don't know what you do with Robert Suarez other than start him and hope he corrects whatever the issue is.
Yeah, I started him as well in the leagues that I own him. I didn't really have a clear, better option. So that's what you went. That's what I went with. Like you said, he's still getting the saves. You just hope that they keep rolling him out there for that. If that's what his value is going to be. I think Jason Adam would be on the short list of guys. Would be next. He's been phenomenal all season and last season and pretty much his whole time in the majors. Adrian Morjan, he might be on that list as well, but that's where I would look. Maybe Jeremiah Estrada. Over in San Francisco, Greg, Camilo Doval has also been terrible here in June as we continue this theme. He's had 12 innings in June with a 6 ERA and a 2 WHIP. It's hard to have a 2 WHIP, Greg. Like it's really difficult to get to that point. What are you doing with Camilo Doval, who, was doing just fine up until this month?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he was doing fine as far as ERA, but his peripherals look pretty bad for a while now. Like his strikeouts are way down. His walks have been terrible. They've continued to be terrible. He's just not pitching very well. I think they have. I don't know. They seem to like decide he was going to be the closer randomly when his numbers really weren't backing that up. But that was more because Ryan Walker was so terrible. I think they probably should have went to Randy Rodriguez as the closer, even though they didn't. But he would be my choice. I think maybe at some point he does finally get the opportunity to be the closer because his stuff looks nasty. He looks like the closer. I mean, clearly, like his numbers are ridiculous. And Duval's numbers are not good. So, yeah, I don't know. I would be stashing Randy Rodriguez. As of right now, it does not seem like they're giving that they're not necessarily going that route, but I would stash them and see what happens. Maybe they finally figure it out. Maybe they go over. Maybe he becomes the closer. No, we'll see. But I'm not counting on it, but I would stash them just in case.
Yeah, I would go ahead and stash Randy and maybe Tyler Rogers, although they seem to not really want to make him closer. But he's been great this season as well. I will say Camilo Doval was great in May. Just been awful here in June. The Braves, we had to make fun of them last podcast and say they hadn't had saves. They got 2 last week, but they also went to 2 different guys, Gray. We said it was going to be a headache. I mean, same thing with, I guess it's Iglesias and Lee if you want people, right?
Yeah, I would say Iglesias, even though I don't trust him at all. But I think that would probably be the way I would go. I would, if I could, I'd probably put him on my bench in my fantasy league and see if he can get right. And if he does, then you can move him into your lineup next week if you could do that potentially. But yeah, I don't trust him, but I think Iglesias is the guy. Okay.
And then let's do our necessary weekly Philadelphia mention, Ray. We said it was Orion Kirkering last week, and Matt Strom got a save this week. So there you go. I mean, I'm just going to mention it until they trade for somebody, and then that person will collapse in on themselves too. It might be Robert Suarez. Who knows? One last note on Robert Suarez, because the one thing I did notice, the changeup has been the problem pitch. It's been getting hit around. The vertical drop is just not there like it was early in the season. So that's what you're looking for if he's going to turn around and keep that job. You want that change to come back around. Greg, give the people some waiver wire bats. I'll give them some streaming options, and we will get out of here.
Oh, okay. So Otto Lopez looks like he's been the hottest hitter on the 7-day player rater, who is under 100% rostered. So grab him if he's still out there. Spencer Steer has been hot. Nolan Gorman, Gary Sanchez. Remember him? I don't, but maybe you do. Ramon Laureano has been hot as well. Kyle Stowers. Tommy Pham. Look at that. He's getting hot even outside of strip clubs. Zach McKinstry. He's been hot. Joey Ortiz. Jacob Young for the Nationals. I didn't even know he was hot, but according to the 7-Day Player Rater, he has been. Christian Moore, Angels second baseman, prospect. He's been hitting for power and not much else, but yeah, he's been hot. Mason Wynn, Caleb Durbin, Brewers, multiple position eligibility. He's been hot. And finally, Carlos Correa. There's a name you haven't heard in a while, and he's been hot. So go get him, guys.
Yeah, he actually went for a lot in our in one of my leagues, Gray, and I was not expecting that to be honest. It's like, oh, that's like 20% of a budget. That's craziness. I don't have 20% of my budget left, so I didn't even get him, obviously. Anyway, some streaming options on the pitching side. Quinn Priester at Miami, Jacob Lopez at Tampa Bay versus San Francisco, Eric Lauer versus the Angels, Charlie Morton at Texas, Dean Kramer at Atlanta, Eduardo Rodriguez versus Kansas City, Jeffrey Springs returns to Tampa Bay, Brian Bayo versus Cincinnati, Jameson Taillon versus St. Louis, Simeon Woods Richardson at Miami, Jason Junk versus Minnesota, and Edward Cabrera versus Minnesota versus Milwaukee. Much better week this week for streamers than last week. If you have specific questions, you can find us on Twitter or X at Razball as Gray's tag. I am at RazBeaton. You can find us on youtube.com/RazballFantasy or in the comment section on Razball.com. Until next time, hopefully you get set to your lineups correctly with the best players. You don't miss out on that random 2-homer Oneil Cruz game like somebody might have. And I'll talk to you next week.
All right, man. Talk to you later.